That means and utensils at least 6 inches, 15 centimeters, off the floor, keeping everything covered or otherwise protected from dirt and condensation, and cleaning drawers and shelves before clean items are stored. You also have to clean trays and carts used to carry clean tableware and utensils. Make sure that this is done on a daily basis or more often if necessary. When it comes to cleaning the operation, there are several things to keep in mind. Non-food contact surfaces, such as floors, ceilings, equipment exteriors, restrooms, and walls, must be cleaned regularly. This will keep dust and dirt, food residue, and other debris from building up.
To do these jobs, your staff will need the right tools, but if you're not careful, the tools themselves can contaminate surfaces. You can avoid this by replacing any cleaning tools that are worn, and by cleaning the tools before putting them away. Assigning tools for specific tasks will also help. For example, you can use one set of tools for cleaning food contact surfaces and another for non-food contact surfaces. And here's a hint. Using color-coded tools can help keep them separate. You have to be just as careful when it comes to cleaning towels. Never use towels meant for food spills for any other purpose, and store them in a sanitizer solution between uses. Always keep towels that come in contact with raw meat, fish, or poultry separate from other cleaning towels. All your cleaning tools and chemicals have to be placed in a storage area away from food and food preparation sites to avoid contamination. That storage area should have things like hooks for hanging cleaning tools to dry, a floor drain for dumping dirty water, and a utility sink for filling buckets and washing cleaning tools. Oh, and by the way, never clean tools anywhere but in that utility sink. Some of the cleaning solutions you'll use have to be considered hazardous materials, and by definition, hazardous materials always pose some risk of chemical contamination. You should reduce your risk by working with your chemical suppliers and purchase only those chemicals that are approved to use in a restaurant or food service establishment. Then you have to store them in their original containers away from food and food preparation areas. If chemicals are transferred to a new container, it's got to be properly labeled. When disposing of chemicals, you should follow the instructions on the label and any local regulations that apply. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, has requirements for using chemicals. OSHA requires chemical manufacturers and suppliers to provide a Material Safety Data Sheet, MSDS, for each hazardous chemical they sell. Employees have a right to see an MSDS for any hazardous chemical they work with, so you must keep these sheets accessible. There are 3 things you need to do to develop an effective cleaning program in your operation. First, you need to create a master cleaning schedule. Second, you need to train your employees to follow it. And third, you must monitor the program to make sure it works. Your master cleaning schedule should identify what should be cleaned and who should do it. It should also spell out step-by-step how these items should be cleaned. And finally, it should tell you when to do it. While employees should clean and sanitize items as needed, you should schedule major cleaning when food will not be contaminated or service will not be affected. That's usually after closing. Training is critical to the success of a cleaning program. Employees need to know what you want them to do and how to do it. Once you put the cleaning program in place, keep an eye on things to make sure it's working.
Now, proper cleaning and sanitizing procedures have to be followed in detail if they're to be effective. And the effectiveness of these procedures is critical to food safety. Of course, keeping your establishment clean will help prevent food from becoming contaminated, but also keep pests, which are another potential source of contamination, from thriving in your establishment. A clean establishment offers pests little in the way of food or shelter. Pests, like insects and rodents, can be a serious problem. Not only are they unsightly to customers, they can also damage food, supplies, and facilities. But the biggest danger from pests comes from their ability to spread diseases, including foodborne illnesses. So pest management needs to be one of your highest priorities. In order to be effective, here's what you'll need to know: how to develop and implement an integrated pest management program, or an IPM, how to identify different pests and signs that they are present, and how to use and store pesticides. Once pests have come into a facility in large numbers, that's an infestation, and they can be very difficult to eliminate. But if you work with your pest control operator to develop and implement an integrated pest management or IPM program, you hold the keys to a solution. An IPM program uses prevention measures to keep pests from entering the establishment and control measures to eliminate any pests that do get inside. Pest control operators, or PCOs, are professionals that use safe, up-to-date methods to prevent and control pests. Prevention is critical in pest control. If you wait until there's evidence of pests in your establishment, they may already be there in huge numbers. An IPM program has 3 basic rules. Deny pests access to the establishment, deny pests food and shelter, and work with a licensed PCO to eliminate pests that do enter. Pests can enter an establishment in one of 2 ways. They're either brought inside with deliveries, or they enter through openings in the building itself. To prevent pests from entering with deliveries, first, use reputable suppliers. Check all deliveries before they enter the establishment. Refuse shipments when pests are found or when there are signs of pests, such as egg cases and body parts, legs, wings, stuff like that. To keep pests from entering through openings in the building, you need to screen windows and vents. Check screens regularly and clean and replace them when needed. Install self-closing devices and door sweeps on doors, and repair gaps and cracks in door frames and thresholds. Use weather stripping on the bottoms of doors with no thresholds. Keep exterior openings closed tightly as much as possible. Keep drive-through windows closed when not in use. You should fill holes around pipes with concrete or sheet metal. Cover drains with grates to keep rodents out. And seal cracks in floors, walls, and around equipment.
Besides denying them access, you've got to deny pests food, water, and a hiding or nesting place. Pests are usually attracted to damp, dark, and dirty places. A clean and sanitary establishment offers little in the way of food and shelter. The stray pests that might get in won't be able to thrive. Besides keeping to your master cleaning schedule, there are some additional guidelines. Dispose of garbage quickly. Clean up spills around garbage containers immediately. Keep containers clean and tightly covered. Store recyclables properly and keep them in pest-proof containers. And keep containers as far away from the building as allowed. You've also got to store food and supplies quickly and properly. And keep them away from the walls and at least 6 inches or 15 centimeters off the floor. You're also going to have to rotate your products so pests cannot settle and breed. And clean the establishment thoroughly. Since careful cleaning eliminates the pest food supply, destroys insect eggs, and reduces the number of places that pests can take shelter, there are a few things you should do. Clean up food and beverage spills immediately. Clean break rooms after use. And keep cleaning tools and supplies clean and dry.
Few pest problems are solved by simply spraying pesticides. Although there are many preventive measures you can take to reduce the risk of an infestation, most control measures must be carried out by a licensed, certified PCO. It's important to be able to spot the signs that indicate the presence of pests and to determine the type you're dealing with. Early detection allows the PCO to start treatment as soon as possible. When it comes to cockroaches, there's a few things you have to know. Most live and breed in dark, warm, and moist places that are hard to clean. And if you see a cockroach in daylight, you may have a major infestation since only the weakest roaches come out at that time. If you suspect you have a roach problem, check for these signs. A strong, oily odor. Droppings or feces that look like grains of black pepper. And capsule-shaped egg cases that are brown, dark red, or black and may appear leathery, smooth, or shiny. Rodents leave different calling cards. You should be on the lookout for things like signs of gnawing, droppings, tracks, and nesting materials. Rats and mice use soft materials such as scraps of paper, cloth, hair, feathers, and grass to build their nests. Rats usually nest in holes that are located in quiet places. Nests are often found near food and water, and may be found next to buildings. You may be tempted to apply pesticides yourself, but there are good reasons why you shouldn't do it. Pesticides that are applied the wrong way may be ineffective or harmful, and the pests can develop resistance and immunity to them. Each region has its own pest control problems, and some control measures are more effective than others. Finally, all pesticides are regulated by federal, state, and local laws. Some are not approved for use in food service operations. You should rely on your PCO to decide if and when pesticides should be used in your establishment. They're trained to determine the most effective pesticide to use, and they know how and where to apply it. If your PCO decides to apply pesticides, it should be done when you're closed for business and employees are not on site. Pesticides can be hazardous, so there are some guidelines you should follow when they're going to be applied. You need to prepare the area to be sprayed by removing all food and movable food contact surfaces. You should also cover equipment and food contact surfaces that can't be moved. And you should wash, rinse, and sanitize all food contact surfaces after the area has been sprayed. After the pesticide has been applied, your PCO should store and dispose of all pesticides used in your facility. If they're stored on the premises, you should keep pesticides in their original containers and store them in a secure location away from food, utensils, and equipment. Since most are considered hazardous waste, you should check both the manufacturer's directions and local regulations before throwing them out. And keep the pesticides material safety data sheet on the premises. There's no question. There's a lot to do and a lot to remember. Keeping food safe is a big job. And it takes everyone working together to get it done right. But it's worth it. And at the end of the day, everyone can look back on a job well done.
We'll be back with the next part of Chapter 9.